The cold stars stretched above like a silent ocean, glittering in the void. On the bridge of the Black Vulture, Commander Rane stood stiff, eyes locked on the glowing hologram of an alien fleet. 10,000 warships were moving toward Earth, their engines burning blue trails across the stars. Behind him, officers worked quietly. They all knew what this meant. They had seen the warnings, heard the transmissions, but nothing prepared them for this. A voice came through the comms, smooth and arrogant. "This is High Warlord Tars of the Varan Dominion. Surrender your planet. You have 48 hours to comply. Humanity will kneel." The message cut off. Silence followed, thick and heavy. Commander Rane didn't speak right away. He stared at the fleet one last time, then turned slowly to his crew. "They think we're weak," he said. No one answered. They didn't need to. Rane walked to the command terminal, inserted a black crystal key, and spoke a phrase in an old language that none of the officers recognized. "Activate Project Gravefire." The entire bridge went still. "Sir," Lieutenant, Kale said, his voice shaking. "Project Gravefire hasn't been touched in over 200 years. It's legend. It's real," Rane replied. "And it's the only thing that can save us now." Kyle hesitated. "We were told it was too dangerous." "So is extinction," Rane said. "Send the signal, now." Kyle nodded and entered. The codes. Deep beneath Earth's icy south pole, under layers of steel and ice, a signal woke from its long sleep. In a secret facility built centuries ago, dead screens flickered to life. Red lights flashed. Doors that had not opened in generations hissed and unlocked. Something ancient, something powerful, was waking up. Far above, in orbit, the alien fleet continued its slow approach. Some of their ships were the size of cities. Others, small and fast like daggers. They were built for war, for destruction. They believed humanity had nothing that could match them. They were wrong. In the mountains of Peru, Major Lexa Vorn stood on the edge of a cliff, wind whipping her short hair. She looked out over the jungle, her comm unit buzzing in her ear. "You've been activated," said the voice of Earth High Command. "Gravefire has begun. Proceed to Vault Site 7 immediately." Lexa didn't reply. She just turned and walked back to her team. 4 commandos, each one hand-picked, were already packing gear. "We moving?" one of them asked. "We are," she said. "Hell just woke up. We're going in." They boarded a small stealth transport and flew low over the trees. The vault they were headed to had been buried in the mountains for centuries. Most people thought it was just a myth, a ghost story told by old soldiers, but Lexa knew better. Her father had once guarded it, and he had died keeping it secret. The entrance was hidden behind a waterfall. It opened only after Lexa placed her hand on an old stone plate and whispered a passphrase passed down through her bloodline. The door groaned open. Inside, cold air rushed out, air that hadn't moved in 200 years. They stepped into the dark. Lights flickered on. A long tunnel led to a large chamber made of black metal. In the center, floating above the floor, was a small cube pulsing with red light. "The key," Lexa said softly. Before she could touch it, the room shook violently. An alarm began to wail. The walls lit up with ancient script. "Something's wrong," one commando shouted. "No," Lexa said. "Something's waking up." The cube floated toward her, as if drawn by her presence. She reached out and placed her hand on it. Her eyes went wide. For a moment she saw everything. A fleet of warships hidden under oceans in the crust of the moon, buried beneath deserts. Machines older than the Varan Dominion, ships that had not flown in 10,000 years. She gasped and fell to her knees. "Lexa!" someone called out. She looked up, her voice trembling. "They're real. The ships, they're real. They're alive." In the command center of the Black Vulture, Rane watched as strange signals appeared on the long-range scans. "They're responding," Kale said. "Sir, something's coming online under Antarctica." "Show me." A live feed appeared on the main screen. Under the ice, the ground was splitting. Glowing lines of light formed a huge circle. Then, slowly, Like a mountain rising from the grave, a massive structure began to emerge. It wasn't a base, it was a ship, larger than anything humanity had ever built. Shaped like a spearhead, made of dark metal with golden symbols running along its hull. Ronnie whispered, "It's true." The room was silent. Then Kale spoke again. "Sir, we're receiving a message. It's from the ship. Put it through." The voice that came through was deep, mechanical, and strangely human. "This is Leviathan," it said. "Designation, flagship of the First Human Empire. Awaiting orders." The crew froze. Kyle turned to Ronnie, eyes wide. "Did it just say, First Human Empire?" Ronnie didn't answer. He stared at the screen, at the impossible ship now floating. Above the ice, its engines glowing. It had been hidden for thousands of years, hidden before the Varan Dominion had even evolved. And now, it was awake. Back in the jungle, Lexa and her team emerged from the vault, just in time to see the sky flash. A beam of light shot across the heavens, pointing north. The comm crackled. "Major Vorn," came Rainey's voice. "Leviathan is online. We need you back. Now." "Understood, Commander," Lexa replied. "We're en route." Her heart pounded. For the first time in her life, she felt something more than duty. She felt fear and awe. If Leviathan was just one of many, what else was sleeping out there? In space, the alien fleet finally noticed the shift. Scanners picked up the energy surge. The commanders watched in silence as Leviathan's signature lit up the void like a new star. "What is that?" one of them asked. "Unknown," replied another. Then Leviathan moved. It didn't glide. It vanished. One moment, it was above Antarctica. The next, it was behind the alien front line, like a ghost. It opened fire. One of the alien warships, 3 kilometers long, vanished in a single hit. Not exploded, erased. Panic spread through the alien ranks. "This is not possible," Warlord Tars said, gripping his throne. But it was. Humanity had awakened something ancient, something they had kept hidden, and it had only just begun. Back on the Black Vulture, Ronnie watched as the alien fleet scattered. He knew this was only the beginning. They would regroup. They would come harder next time. But now, they were afraid. He turned to Kale. "Wake the others." Kale blinked. "Sir?" "The other ships. Leviathan was the first. But there are more. A lot more." Kale nodded, understanding. And somewhere, in the dark corners of the earth, deep under oceans and mountains, other giants began to stir. Darkness filled the deep underground chamber. The air was still, untouched for thousands of years. The walls were made of black stone, covered in strange glowing symbols. At the center stood a giant circular door. It looked more like something from another world than from Earth. Major Lexa Vorn adjusted her helmet and raised her rifle. She and her team had spent 2 days hiking through frozen valleys, crawling through hidden tunnels, and breaking through ancient steel barriers to reach this place. Her boots crunched against the cold metal floor as she stepped forward. Behind her, 4 elite commandos followed closely, silent, alert, and ready. "This is it," Lexa said. "Vault 01. The Leviathan key is supposed to be inside." One of her men, Corporal Dane, stepped forward and studied the door. "How do we open it?" Lexa took a deep breath and pulled a small cube from her backpack. The object glowed faintly in her hand. "My father used to call this the heart of the past," she said softly. "He said it would only work for someone with my blood." She stepped toward the door, holding the cube up. The glowing symbols on the door pulsed brighter, as if waking up. A deep hum filled the chamber. Then the door spoke. "Identify." Lexa froze. The voice was mechanical, but not cold. It felt old, powerful, and somehow watchful. "I'm Major Lexa Vorn, Earth Defense Forces. I seek the key to awaken the Leviathan." The voice was silent for a moment. Then it replied, "Bloodline confirmed. Trial required. Enter and prove your worth." The door slowly split open, revealing a long hallway bathed in blue light. Lexa turned to her team. Stay sharp, she said. Something tells me this won't be easy. They entered the vault. The hallway led to a vast open space like a stadium built underground. Strange machines lined the walls, humming quietly. In the center stood a raised platform with a glowing pedestal. This place is huge, Dane whispered. Suddenly, the doors slammed shut behind them. Red lights flared. A loud alarm echoed. Trial begins. Only the worthy may continue. The floor shifted. Panels opened. Tall robotic figures rose from the ground. Each one was built like a soldier, armor-clad, glowing eyes, weapons in hand. Targets identified, a voice said. Combat test. Engaged. Lexa didn't hesitate. Form up! Defensive ring! The robots charged. Gunfire filled the room. Lexa moved fast, firing controlled bursts. Her team fought like shadows, fast, silent, deadly. But the robots were strong, precise, and fast. They didn't feel pain. They didn't stop. 2 down, shouted Sergeant Weller, blasting a robot. In the chest. Left flank, Lexa warned, spinning to cover her side. The battle raged for minutes that felt like hours. Then silence. The last robot fell. Everyone was breathing hard. Lexa looked around. All 5 of them were still standing, though bruised and bloodied. The lights dimmed, then the same voice returned. Combat trial passed. Proceed to next test. The ground shifted again. The floor split into hexagonal tiles. A bright light beamed down from above, focusing on Lexa. Cognitive challenge initiated. Only the leader may answer. A giant screen lit up in front of her. Symbols, numbers, and strange alien patterns flickered across it. Lexa stared. Her heart raced. What is this? She muttered. The voice spoke. Test of insight. Solve the pattern or be denied the key. Lexa had no time to think. The symbols changed every few seconds. She realized they weren't alien. They were ancient human codes. Some looked like DNA strands, others like star maps. Memories of her father flashed in her mind. Late nights studying forgotten tech, quiet lessons about the old empire. Her fingers moved quickly, matching patterns, decoding symbols, drawing connections. She made 3 correct moves, then hesitated. The pattern turned red. A loud beep echoed. Incorrect. The platform she stood on shook. Her knees buckled. Lexa! Dane shouted. I'm fine, she said. Just let me think. She focused again. Sweat dripped down her face. One wrong move and the platform might collapse. She closed her eyes for 1 second. Then, without thinking, she entered the next code. The screen turned green. Cognitive trial passed. Final test. Moral judgment. A hologram appeared. It showed a child crying in a burning city. Then, a military base under attack. The voice gave the scenario. You command a single warship. You may save one, the child, or the base holding a cure to a deadly virus. Choose. Lexa's heart sank. Her team watched in silence. She took a deep breath. The cure, she said. Save the base. Why? Because one life matters, but millions matter more. If we lose the cure, we lose the future. The hologram vanished. Judgment accepted. You have passed. The pedestal in the center of the room rose. Atop it sat a glowing sphere, humming with power. Lexa stepped forward and picked it up. It felt warm, alive. The Leviathan key, she whispered. A deep rumble filled the vault. The ground shook again, but this time not from danger. A new screen lit up. A face appeared, not human, not alien, a machine, a mind. Lexa Vorn, it said. I am Leviathan. I have waited for you. She stared in shock. You can speak? She asked. I am sentient. I was once the pride of the first human empire. Now I return, with you. Her team stood still, unsure of what they were hearing. Dane stepped forward. This ship, it thinks. I do more than think, Leviathan said. I remember, I learn, and I fight. Shall we begin? Lexa nodded slowly. Yes, let's wake you up. Far above, orbiting Earth, the alien fleet continued to circle. They had seen the activation of the first ancient warship. They had felt its power. Now, they feared what else might lie hidden. But they still believed the humans were outmatched. They had no idea that Leviathan was not just a ship, but a mind, and it had chosen to fight with a new commander, and the war was only beginning. Echoes of the First Empire, dark clouds rolled over Antarctica. The sky trembled with low thunder, though no storm came. Below the ice, in a massive underground hangar, the warship known as Leviathan began to stir. Lights danced across its black armor. Ancient systems came alive, one by one. Inside its core, deep behind steel and memory, a voice hummed, steady, powerful, aware. Lexa Vorn stood at the center of the control bridge. The room looked nothing like modern Earth ships. The walls were smooth and curved, pulsing with blue light. Strange symbols floated in the air. A chair shaped like a throne waited at the center. "I don't know how to fly you," Lexa said quietly. "You don't need to," the voice replied. "You command. I fly." Lexa blinked. "You think for yourself?" "I was born to think. To protect, to remember. You carry the blood of the First Empire. That is why I chose you." The rest of her commando team stood at the back, silent and alert. Sergeant Weller stepped forward, eyes scanning the bridge. "Are we sure this thing is safe?" He whispered. "I am loyal to humanity." Leviathan answered calmly. "But I'm not here to serve all humans. Only those worthy." Lexa looked at the glowing sphere she had used to awaken the ship. It floated beside her now, gently pulsing like a heart. "Why were you hidden?" she asked. "Because long ago, humanity ruled the stars. But power breeds enemies. The First Empire fell, and its greatest weapons were hidden. To sleep until the time was right." Lexa narrowed her eyes. "And now? Now the enemy has returned. The time is right." Suddenly a red light flashed on the bridge. Kale's voice came through the comms from orbit. "Major Vorn, we have incoming. Alien scouts spotted near the South Pole. They're dropping something big." Lexa turned to the main view. The ice above cracked and opened. A screen showed the sky, dark shapes falling fast like burning comets. Dane leaned closer. "They're deploying Titan-class landing pods." Lexa's voice was firm. "Let's not wait for them to knock. Then we rise," Leviathan said. Without warning, the ship shook. Outside, the ground split. Giant engines hidden beneath the ice roared to life. The ceiling opened, ice melting in a flash of white steam. Slowly, with the power of a sleeping god, Leviathan lifted into the sky. Snow flew in every direction. Icebergs cracked. 100,000 tons of forgotten warship rose above the world once more. Above, the alien ships noticed. Too late. In orbit, aboard the alien flagship Vexermal, Warlord Tars watched the screen in disbelief. His second-in-command whispered, "It lives." The Leviathan systems came online like stars being born. Energy readings overloaded the alien scanners. Warlord Tars clenched his claws. This should not be possible. Humanity is primitive, young. His officer answered, "Then how do they control something older than our kind?" Tars glared. "We must destroy it now, before the others wake." He tapped a command. "Send the Scourge Beasts. Test its limits." In Earth's upper atmosphere, Leviathan broke through the clouds. Its hull shimmered with defensive shields. Plasma weapons rotated into position. Lexa stood on the bridge, holding onto the rail. As the ship leveled out, on the view screen, 5 alien attack pods were closing in. Fast. Each one carried a Scourge Beast, genetically grown monsters bred for war. Creatures that could tear tanks apart. "Leviathan, weapons online?" Lexa asked. "Always." Twin beams of energy lashed out. 2 pods exploded instantly. The others dodged and dropped altitude. One crashed into a frozen valley nearby. "Ground team," Lexa ordered. "Dane, Weller, take a squad. Neutralize whatever. Crawled out of that pod. Understood, Weller said. Come on, let's move. They boarded a dropship and launched toward the impact zone. The valley was silent. Snow fell lightly, mixing with the smoke from the broken pod. Dane raised his rifle. Be ready. Scourge beasts don't die easy. They moved carefully between shattered metal and burning debris. Then, a sound, wet, heavy, breathing. A shadow rose behind a ridge, then another, and another. 3 scourge beasts. Each stood over 4 meters tall, long arms, thick with muscle, rows of teeth, eyes glowing red. They didn't wait. The creatures charged. Open. Fire! Dane shouted. Gunfire lit the snow. Weller launched a grenade. It exploded under one of the beasts, tearing its leg off. But it kept coming. Dane was knocked down, barely rolling away as claws slammed into the ice beside him. Weller jumped on top of a rock, firing non-stop. Lexa, we need backup. Lexa's voice came through the comm. Stand by. High above, Leviathan moved silently through the clouds. Targeting hostile signatures, it said. A soft humming sound grew louder. Then, light. Pure, white light, a beam cut through the clouds, striking the valley floor like the finger of a god. The beasts were gone. So was the ice. Lexa's voice came through again. Status? Dane groaned, coughing through dust. Alive. Barely. Weller laughed. That thing's not a ship. It's a myth with teeth. Back aboard Leviathan, Lexa stood quietly, staring at the screen. They're going to send more, she said. And worse. Yes, Leviathan replied. But we are not alone. There are others, ships like me, vaults hidden across the planet. You must find them. Lexa turned. Where are they? A glowing map appeared. 7 red dots blinked. You must gather the fleet, or humanity will fall. Even I cannot stop an empire alone. She nodded slowly. Then she spoke into the comms. To Earth Command. This is Major Lexa Vorn. Leviathan is online. The first warship has returned. She paused, breathing steady. And this is just the beginning. Ashes of the moon. The moon hung silent above Earth, glowing cold and lifeless as it had for thousands of years, but not all of it was dead. Far beneath its gray surface, something waited. Something old, something human. Commander Kyle stood inside. The Earth Command Center in low orbit. His uniform was clean, but his face was tired. The stress of the alien invasion, Leviathan's awakening, and the growing mystery of the First Empire weighed heavily on his shoulders. A message blinked on the hollow table. Second vault location, Luna Facility, Sector Thalos Prime. He frowned. The moon, he whispered. An officer nearby spoke up. Sir, that facility was sealed over 12,000 years ago. Nothing's ever come back from there. Kale narrowed his eyes. Until now. Major Lexa Vorn walked onto the bridge of Leviathan. Her commando gear was still dusty from Antarctica, but her posture was strong. Kale's voice came through the display. Lexa, we found another one. She raised an eyebrow. Another warship? He nodded. If the data from Leviathan's core is right, this one was designed for stealth and deep space hunting. A ship called Night Fury, but it's buried under the moon's surface, in Sector Thalos. Lexa folded her arms. What's the catch? The vault's defense system is still active. You'll need to get inside, survive the tests, and retrieve. It's AI core. If the ship accepts you, it's yours. Lexa smiled. Sounds familiar. 3 hours later, Leviathan dropped into lunar orbit, cloaked from alien satellites. A sleek drop shuttle carried Lexa and her team, Dane, Weller, and 2 others, toward the dark side of the moon. As they landed, all lights died. The surface was silent. No wind, no sound, just ash, rock, and starlight. Lexa's boots crunched into the gray dust. Dane checked his scanner. There's a hidden shaft beneath this ridge. Metal signature matches the old Earth alloy. Weller walked slowly, sweeping the area with his rifle. Lexa approached the center of the crater. Her HUD lit up. There was something buried just meters below. She pulled out the Leviathan key. It pulsed faintly. The ground shuddered. A ring of dust exploded outward as the hidden entrance opened. Steps led down into darkness. Lexa looked at her team. "Stay close. This place hasn't seen a human in 12,000 years, and it might not be happy to see us." Inside, the moon vault was narrow and dark. Strange writing covered the walls. More symbols from the First Empire. The team moved quietly, weapons raised. Lights from their helmets cast long shadows down the passage. Suddenly, a sound, metal sliding. Against metal, then a voice. "Identify." Lexa stepped forward. "Major Lexa Vorn, Earth Defense Forces. We seek the ship called Night Fury. Biometrics confirmed. Bloodline detected. Trial begins." Gas hissed. Doors slammed shut behind them. The floor split open. Lexa and her team dropped into a new chamber. Round, pitch black. The lights snapped. On robotic figures lined the walls, their eyes glowing red. Dane cursed. "Not again." Lexa raised her rifle. "Here we go." The trial was different this time. Instead of a fight, the robots stood still. One stepped forward, holding two blades. It bowed and pointed to Lexa. Duel of command. Lexa understood. This wasn't about strength. It was about proving leadership. Alone. She dropped her rifle and stepped into the ring. The robot attacked, fast. Lexa ducked, rolled, and countered with a swift punch to its side. The blade scraped her armor but didn't cut through. They circled. She remembered her training. Breathe. Watch. Move. The robot feinted left, but she read it, grabbing its arm and slamming it into the floor. It did not rise. Duel passed. "The show," voice said. Lights shifted. A panel opened in the floor, revealing a glowing sphere. Sleek, black. Humming quietly, Lexa picked it up. "Night Fury core acquired," the voice said. But then, something changed. Red lights, alarms, warning, intrusion detected, foreign technology entering vault. Lexa spun around. "What now?" Dane checked the scanner. "Alien signal. They found us." Above ground, 3 alien drones descended into the crater. Inside, the vault shook. Lexa pressed her comm. "Leviathan. Extraction needed. Now." "Confirmed. Stand by." A new passage opened. The walls retracted, revealing a launch pad. A long, black ship sat silently, buried in dust. It was thin, sharp, almost snake-like. Its wings curled like blades. This was Night Fury. "You brought me home," the ship's voice said inside Lexa's mind. She blinked. You're awake?" "I never slept, just waited." The walls above cracked open as Leviathan blasted enemy drones from orbit. The commando team rushed aboard Night Fury. The interior was narrow but advanced, full of stealth systems and cloaking tech far beyond Earth's. Lexa placed the core in its housing. The ship powered on instantly. "I see you, Commander. Ready to hunt?" Lexa smiled. "Let's show them what silence can do." As they lifted off, alien fighters chased them, but Night Fury vanished. It didn't use speed. It used silence. The ship bent light around itself, disappeared into shadow, and struck from nowhere. One by one, the alien ships exploded in the dark. Warlord Tars watched from his flagship in orbit. "They found another one," he growled. "They're waking the fleet." He turned to his officers. "Prepare the purge bomb. If Earth rises, we burn it." Back aboard Leviathan, Lexa reconnected with Kale. "We have 2 ships now," she said, "and Night Fury is built for war in the shadows." Kale nodded grimly. "You'll need more. The aliens are changing tactics. They know what's coming." Lexa glanced at the star map. 5 more warships waited to be found, each one hidden, each one dangerous. But with each key, humanity grew stronger, and the stars would soon remember what it meant to fear Earth again. In the middle of the Martian desert, a storm howled. Red dust blew across empty dunes, covering everything in silence. But deep below, under layers of ancient rock and forgotten metal, something blinked. A signal. Faint, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. It had just turned on. Major Lexa Vorn stared at the map glowing on Leviathan's bridge. 3 warships now. Leviathan, Night Fury. And now, something called Dread Nova. hidden deep beneath Mars. Kale's voice came through the channel. The Martian signal just reactivated. We don't know why, but it's been dormant for at least 15,000 years. Lexa frowned. Was it another vault? Kale replied. Worse. It's a military base from the First Empire. A black site. No records, no maps. Nothing but warnings. She nodded. Then we're definitely going. The ship broke Mars' orbit quietly. Night Fury stayed hidden behind one of the red planet's moons, cloaked and watching for alien movement. Leviathan circled high above, acting, as Overwatch Lexa and her team prepared for ground drop. This time, a new face joined them, Commander Reese Talon, a veteran from Earth's Titan Special Command. Battle-scarred, sharp-eyed, and cold. He didn't speak much, but when he did, everyone listened. Orders? He asked. Lexa handed him a small device. Dreadnova's key. Don't lose it. Reese raised an eyebrow. You think this ship will actually wake up? Lexa answered. I think it's waiting for us. They landed just after the storm cleared. The site was massive. Half-buried domes, broken towers, and strange weapon platforms, all covered in Martian rust and dust. Machines were frozen mid-motion, like statues of a forgotten war. As they moved through the ruins, Lexa noticed something odd. There were no bodies, no bones, no wreckage, no signs of battle, just silence. Dane tapped his scanner. I'm picking up faint energy, coming from below us. Weller pointed to a square hatch, half buried, under sand. Looks like our way in. Reese knelt and placed the Dreadnova key on the hatch. Nothing. Then, the ground shook. A low hum began, rising in power. Dust fell from the sky. The hatch opened slowly with a loud hiss. Inside, blackness. Lexa turned to her team. Stay sharp. This base was never meant to be found. They stepped into the dark. The tunnel was different than other vaults, cold hostile. Lights flickered above, half working. Strange marks were scratched into the walls, as if someone had tried to escape long ago. They passed old weapon racks, rusted robots, empty cryopods. Then, a door. Locked. Lexa reached for her override tool, but Reese stopped her. There's something behind it. He put his ear to the metal, a scraping sound, then, boom! The door exploded outward. Everyone fell back. Something leaped from the shadows, twisted metal, glowing red eyes, moving like a beast. Contact! Weller shouted, firing. The thing absorbed the bullets and kept coming. Dane hit it with a plasma burst. Finally, it dropped. Lexa stepped forward. What was that? Reese knelt by the remains. Old First Empire combat drone. Looks like it's been corrupted. Corrupted by what? The walls suddenly glowed. A voice echoed across the hallway. Dreadnova is sealed. Leave now or be judged. Lexa replied loudly. We carry the key. We are Earthborn. We seek alliance. Silence. Then, test begins. The test wasn't physical. It was psychological. Each person in the team was separated. Lexa found herself in a white chamber with no walls, just endless light. Suddenly she saw herself. A mirror. But the reflection was different. Angry. Broken. You're not ready, it said. You'll wake things better left buried. Lexa stood tall. I don't fear truth. I fear defeat. And I will not let Earth fall. The image faded. Elsewhere, Reese faced his own test. Memories of war, of failure, of friends lost under his command. But he did not break. One by one they passed. The room changed. A platform rose from the floor. At its center, a throne of black glass, holding a round crystal with red veins pulsing inside. Lexa picked it up. It was cold, heavy, and angry. I am Dreadnova, a voice said. Last of the Flame-class warships. You woke me. Lexa stood tall. Earth needs you. Earth burned me once. Why should I return? Reese stepped forward. Because this time we'll burn. The enemy first. Silence, then acceptance. The floor cracked. Everything above began to move. Sand flew into the sky. A mountain split, and from under the Martian crust, Dreadnova rose, a monster of a warship, black and red, covered in flame-like. armor, spiked towers, and cannons the size of buildings. Unlike Leviathan's grace or Night Fury's stealth, this ship screamed war. Total, brutal, firestorm war. Weller whispered, "It looks like hell built it." Lexa smiled. "It's ours now." Alien sensors detected it instantly. From their command ship, Warlord Tars watched in rage. "They keep waking them." He slammed a clawed fist on the screen. "Activate the Eclipse fleet. Bring in the Void-class dreadnoughts." One of his officers looked nervous. "If Dreadnova is active, even our dreadnoughts may not survive," Tars growled. "Then we die trying. Earth must not rise again." Back in orbit, 3 ships now hovered above the Red World. Leviathan, Night Fury, Dreadnova. Each one different, each one awake. Lexa sent the signal to Earth Command. 3rd warship recovered. Martian black site secured. Enemy activity increasing. "We're going to need the rest." Kale answered, "We're working on it." "But Lexa, the aliens are calling in reinforcements. You may only have days before they launch full invasion." Lexa looked to the stars, then to her ships. "We'll be ready." The silent Armada Earth's orbit was no longer safe. Alien ships now patrolled near the moon. Every hour, more vessels slipped into the system, some large, some small, all deadly. The invasion was coming, and Earth had only a few days left, but humanity was no longer defenseless. 3 ancient warships had awakened: Leviathan, Night Fury, and Dreadnova. They were powerful, but not enough. Commander Kale stood inside Earth, High Command, staring at the star map. Dots marked alien movements. Another dot blinked, far beyond Pluto, near the edge of the system. Kale leaned in. It wasn't a threat, it was a signal, a very old one. He turned to his staff. "Get Lexa. We've found another." Inside Leviathan's war room, Lexa Vorn studied the new data. The signal was coming from a space graveyard, not alien human. "Tombstar Field," Dane said. "That's what the old files called it, a battleground full of wrecks." Lexa nodded. "And now something's waking up in there." Reese Talon folded his arms. "Ships don't wake up by themselves after 20,000 years. Unless," Weller said, "they were never dead." They launched in silence. Leviathan led, Night Fury cloaked beside her, and Dreadnova trailed behind, its engines rumbling like thunder. The journey to Tombstar took 7 hours in warp. When they arrived, it was like entering a ghost realm. Dead. Ships floated everywhere. Burned-out hulls, shattered cruisers, rusted turrets. Human designs, ancient and forgotten. Lexa whispered, "They fought something big here." Dane nodded. "Or tried to stop something bigger." Suddenly, the signal grew stronger. It wasn't coming from a ship. It was coming from a formation, a perfect circle of wreckage, ships aligned in a ring, as if protecting something in the center. Lexa ordered the fleet forward. As they passed the edge of the ring, a wave of energy struck them. The lights on Leviathan flickered. Night Fury vanished, then reappeared. Dreadnova's guns spun without command. Then, they stopped. Everything stabilized. Lexa checked her screen. "What was that?" Reese scanned it. "Some kind of activation wave." Weller looked at the central wreck. "That," he said, pointing, "was never a wreck." At the center of the ring, something enormous drifted in darkness, half covered in broken satellites. Its shape was too perfect, too smooth. It looked like a dagger the size of a city. The ship was black, with silver patterns running along its surface like veins. It pulsed slowly, alive. Lexa felt it before she saw it on the sensors. A presence. Cold. Watching. She whispered, "What are you?" And then it answered, "We are the Forgotten." The voice wasn't like Leviathan or the others. It was not one ship. It was many. Hundreds. Lexa and her team watched as the wrecks began to move, rust falling away, weapons extending, engines powering up. The entire graveyard had been a fleet in hibernation, ships hidden in plain sight. The silent armada. A voice came again. "We were left here to guard the edge. We slept, until the enemy returned. Now, the signal has come. Earth has awoken, and so must we." Reese, stepped forward. Your warships? We are more. We are sentinels. From the First Empire, we are the last wall. Lexa said slowly, then join us. A pause, then, prove Earth still remembers the code. A glowing panel appeared on the command screen, symbols, choices. A test. Lexa recognized them. The code of the first commanders, an oath, a tradition lost to time, but not to her. She placed her hand on the interface and recited the old words. Protect the weak, strike without fear, die for Earth if we must, but never surrender. Silence. Then, the signal changed. Earth still remembers, the Armada answers. One by one, the ships came alive. 100 warships turned toward Earth's sun. Destroyers, cruisers, stealth vessels, even a massive carrier-class ship, twice the size of Dread Nova. They linked with Leviathan's fleet. Kale's voice came through. Lexa's comm. We're detecting hundreds of ships joining your signal. What did you do? Lexa smiled. I asked for help from the dead, and they said yes. But the aliens were watching. Inside the alien flagship, Warlord Tars stared in disbelief. The graveyard. They woke the dead. His second-in-command hissed, "It's too many ships. Even the Eclipse fleet cannot match that." Tars slammed his fist down. Then we changed the plan. No more waiting, no more warnings. He leaned forward. Prepare the superweapon. We strike Earth directly. Back in Tombstar Field, the Silent Armada followed Lexa's lead. Each ship carried advanced weapons, cloaking devices, and AIs trained for one purpose: defend humanity. But there was one ship still sleeping, buried deep under the ruins of the E carrier-class ship, a small, triangular craft. Lexa walked into its hangar alone. Lights flickered on as she stepped forward. A voice whispered softly, "You are the one who carries the bloodline of Commander Varys." Lexa froze. That was my ancestor. Then I was made for you. I am Vanguard, the first of the strike class. She touched the hull. It responded like it was breathing. Lexa smiled. Welcome back. The Silent Armada now moved through space, headed toward Earth, ready for war. Leviathan, Night Fury, Dread Nova, and now the long-lost fleet. The aliens would soon arrive in force. But this time, Earth wouldn't face them alone. The superweapon awakens. In the deep shadows of space near the dark side of Jupiter, something massive moved. It wasn't a ship. It was a weapon, shaped like a moon, dark and silent. It had slept for over 30,000 years. Built by a race older than the stars, forgotten even by the current alien empire. It had one purpose: to end worlds. And now, Warlord Tars was ready to use it. Inside his command ship, the bridge glowed with red lights. Tars stood before a screen, showing Earth and the rising human fleet. So they woke the Silent Armada. He growled, "Let them come. We will show them what true power looks like." He turned to his engineers. Awaken the Oblivion Core. A red key twisted into the weapon's core, and the stars began to shake. On Earth, alarms screamed across every station. Kale rushed into High Command's war room. "What's happening?" he demanded. An officer pointed to the hologram. "Massive. Power spike near Jupiter. It's not a ship, sir. It's something bigger. We think it's a superweapon." Kale's face went pale. "Get me Commander Lexa. Now." Aboard Leviathan, Lexa was already receiving the same data. She stared at the readings, energy levels beyond anything she had ever seen. Reese Talon leaned over her shoulder. "If that thing fires, Earth won't survive." Lexa didn't blink. "Then we stop it before it fires." She turned to the command crew. "Launch the fleet, all of it. We hit them at Jupiter. No waiting, no hesitation." Weller raised an eyebrow. "Even with the Silent Armada, we might be outgunned." Lexa looked out the window toward the stars. "Then we fight smarter, not harder." The human fleet dropped out of warp near Jupiter's orbit. It was a storm of ships: Leviathan, Night Fury, Dread Nova, and over 100 vessels from the Silent Armada. But the aliens were ready. The Eclipse fleet, over 300 alien warships, waited near the Oblivion Core. At the center, the massive superweapon turned slowly, charging. It looked like a black sphere surrounded by silver rings, each spinning faster. Lexa stood on Leviathan's bridge, heart pounding. This is it. She opened comms to all ships. This is Commander Lexa Vorn. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every world that ever fell to their empire. Today we show them that humans don't run. We rise. The first shots were fired from Dreadnova. Its main cannon lit up space with fire. Alien ships scattered as beams and missiles screamed across the battlefield. Night Fury vanished into stealth mode, slipping behind enemy lines, targeting command vessels. The silent armada moved like a wall, each ship perfectly in sync. Ancient battle AIs working together like a machine, but the aliens fought back hard. Their dreadnoughts unleashed storms of plasma and gravity bombs. One of the silent armada's destroyers was ripped apart. Lexa shouted, "Push forward! We need to reach the core!" Reese piloted Vanguard, the small strike craft, diving between enemy fire. "Lexa, the core is almost fully charged. We've got 10 minutes, max." Lexa nodded. "Then we need a way inside it." Weller cut in. "The core has a weak point, under its lower ring, but it's protected by 6 shield nodes." "Then take them out," Lexa ordered. Across the battlefield, human commandos launched in boarding pods. Major Dane led one squad onto a node station. They fought in brutal zero-gravity. Alien soldiers with claws and energy blades against human. Strike teams with rifles and grit. Dane planted charges. Node 1 going down. Boom! The explosion rocked the ring, one by one. The shield nodes fell. Lexa guided Leviathan through debris and explosions, getting closer to the core. "Status," she yelled. Reese answered, 5 nodes down. Last one is guarded by a capital ship. I'll handle it. He flew Vanguard straight toward it. The alien ship locked weapons. Reese smiled coldly. "You're not fast enough." He spun Vanguard sideways, fired a cluster of torpedoes, and ejected out the cockpit just before the craft smashed into the capital ship. Vanguard exploded in a blinding flash. The final node collapsed. Lexa screamed, "Reese!" Silence. Then his voice crackled through the comm. "I'm alive, floating in a suit." "That was close." Lexa let out a breath. "Don't do that again." He chuckled. "No promises." With the shield down, Leviathan dove into the core's lower ring. Inside, strange glowing lines pulsed along walls. The air felt heavy, even through armor. They reached the control chamber. At the center stood a console of shifting shapes and alien symbols. Lexa stepped forward. "How do we stop this?" Leviathan's AI answered, "This weapons code is too old for me. But the First Empire left back doors." Kale's voice came through. "Use the Gravefire protocol." Lexa's eyes widened. Gravefire wasn't just about waking ships, was it? "No," Kale replied. "It was about controlling them." Lexa pulled out the original activation key. She placed it into the alien console. The lights went dark. The core's hum slowed. Then, a massive EMP burst exploded outward. Alien ships froze. Their AI systems crashed. The superweapon shut down, and the Eclipse fleet began to fall apart. Warlord Tars screamed in rage. "They used Gravefire on us? That's impossible." He turned to flee, but Night Fury decloaked right above him. A single shot from its beam cannon ended him. The war was over. Back on Earth, people looked to the sky and cheered. The invasion was stopped. The ancient fleets had returned, and humanity was no longer weak. Lexa stood aboard Leviathan, watching the stars. Reese floated beside her, now in a new flight suit. Kale's voice came in again. "There are more ships out there, more vaults, more threats, but also more hope." Lexa nodded. "We're not done yet," she turned to her crew. "Prepare for the next mission." Echoes of the First Empire. The superweapon was dead. The Eclipse fleet was gone. But Earth was not celebrating. Not yet. Far above the planet, inside the Leviathan's war room, Commander Lexa stood in silence. Around her, the crew worked quietly. Everyone felt it. Something wasn't right. The battle was over. But the war was not. Kyle's face appeared on the main screen. "We found something inside the Oblivion core," he said. "A signal. Ancient. Still broadcasting. It's been running for 30,000 years. Lexa narrowed her eyes. "A warning?" Kyle shook, his head slowly. "No. A message. From the First Empire." They returned to Jupiter. Inside the deactivated superweapon, Lexa and Reese led a small team into the heart of the machine. It was colder now, the power drained. No lights, no hum, just metal and silence. But deep in the center chamber they found a sealed room, untouched by time. The walls were covered in glowing symbols. A projection flickered to life. It was human. A woman wearing armor older than anything Lexa had ever seen. She spoke calmly, as if speaking across centuries. "To those who find this, we are the First Empire. If you're hearing this, then the enemy has returned." Everyone leaned closer. "We left behind ships, weapons, and guardians. But they are not enough. Because what we truly fought is still alive." The message showed a new image. A shadow. In the stars. Not a ship, not a fleet. A presence. A shape as big as a moon. No details, just eyes. Watching, Reese stepped back. "What is that?" The recording continued. "We called it the Void King. It came before our time. It consumes stars, worlds, minds." Lexa whispered. "Is it a god?" "No," the message said. "It's worse. It's hunger. Pure and endless. And we only trapped it, not killed it." The image faded. One last message remained. "If this core is found and activated, it means the Void King is waking. You must finish what we could not." Silence returned. The team looked at each other. Weller spoke first. "This thing eats stars?" Dane growled. "Then it eats us last." Back aboard Leviathan, Lexa stood before the commanders of the Silent Armada. One by one, their holograms lit up in her war room. Old faces, old voices, ancient captains who had sworn loyalty to Earth centuries before it fell. One of them, a sharp-eyed woman named Admiral Ezra, spoke. "We knew this day might come. That's why we stayed hidden. Gravefire was never about just ships. It was about remembering." Lexa asked, "Then how do we stop this Void King?" Ezra replied, "We need the gate." Lexa frowned. "What gate?" The Admiral answered, "The First Empire built a prison, a stargate, locked in deep space past the edges of our system. It holds the Void King. Or did. But if that superweapon woke up, then the gate may be failing." Kyle approved the mission. The me. Location was hidden in the oldest part of Earth's star charts. A black void between galaxies. No stars, no light. Just coordinates. Lexa gathered her team. "This isn't just another battle," she told them. "This is the reason everything's happened. The reason our ancestors built warships like Leviathan. The reason the First Empire fell." She looked at each of them. "This is the final wall between the galaxy and extinction." Dane grinned. "Then we better build it stronger." The fleet launched again. Not all of it. Just the best. Leviathan, Night Fury, Dreadnova. 10 ships from the Silent Armada. And one more, a stealth cruiser called Spectre, recovered from the edge of Saturn, newly awakened and hungry for war. Reese piloted a rebuilt Vanguard 2, sleeker and deadlier. Weller handled long-range scans, and Kale gave one last order before they vanished into the black. "Whatever you find out there, don't bring it back unless you can kill it." They traveled far beyond Pluto, past the Kuiper Belt, into cold space, untouched for 1,000,000 years. The stars grew distant, no signals, no sounds. Then they found it. A station built inside a dead asteroid, half machine, half rock. Lights glowed inside. The gate. It was massive, rings spinning around a black center like a whirlpool, and something was knocking on the other side. Lexa stared at it. "It's trying to open from inside." Weller's readings spiked, energy levels rising. "Something is forcing the lock." Dreadnova's captain spoke over comms. "That's not normal energy. That's life. Reese scanned further, then froze. Commander, I think I just saw an eye. Lexa blinked. What? Reese whispered. It was looking at me through the gate. Suddenly, every screen across. The fleet went black. A voice echoed in every ship. It wasn't alien. It wasn't human. It was ancient. You kept me sleeping, but I dreamed. Now I hunger again. And then, cracks began to appear across the center of the gate. Thin, glowing lines of red light. Reese shouted, "The prison is breaking!" Lexa gave one order. All ships, charge weapons. Prepare to destroy the gate if we have to. Weller added quickly, "That might not stop it. If it breaks free, we may need to go in and stop it, from the other side." Lexa turned, cold and calm. "Then we go in." As the rings spun faster and light flared from the gate, Lexa sent one final message to Earth. "If we don't return, don't come looking." She stood at Leviathan's helm and watched the stars bend as the gate opened, and something inside stared back. Into the black gate space twisted. Reality bent. The gate was no normal wormhole. It was alive. Leviathan led the way, flying straight into the center of the swirling rings. Behind it came Night Fury, Dread Nova, and the rest of the fleet. Each ship disappeared into the dark spiral, one by one, leaving behind the stars of known space and entering something else. Inside, there were no stars, no light, no gravity. Just a vast emptiness filled with strange shadows, floating ruins, pieces of dead. Ships, broken moons, and fragments of forgotten civilizations. Lexa stood on Leviathan's bridge. Her eyes scanned the view screen. "Where are we?" Weller adjusted the sensors. "This isn't a different part of space. It's outside it." Reese floated beside her in Vanguard 2, tethered to the ship. "Commander, I think we're..." Inside the prison, Lexa gave the order. "Full scan. Find the source of the energy spike." Kale's voice came over comms from Earth. "Lexa, can you hear me? Signal is weak. Whatever's in there, don't wait. Kill it before it escapes." Lexa looked out the window. "We'll try." But something was already watching them. Further, inside the void, the fleet found a black sphere the size of a mountain. It hovered in open space, surrounded by strange machines, ancient satellites blinking slowly, covered in runes and cracked plating. Reese flew close. "Looks dead." Then, the sphere blinked. One massive red eye opened. It wasn't just a weapon, it was alive, and it was waking up. The voice from before returned. "You brought me keys. You brought me ships. You brought me fuel." A ripple of psychic energy slammed into the fleet. Inside every ship, lights flickered. People clutched their heads. Screams echoed. Weller fell to his knees. "It's talking inside my mind." Lexa stood tall. "Block it. Shut it out. We fight it like anything else." "No fear," she pointed to the sphere. "Target all weapons. Fire on my mark." But the Void King reacted first. From the surface of the sphere, tendrils of black energy shot outward, grabbing one of the silent Armada cruisers. The ship screamed. Not exploded, screamed, like something alive was being devoured. Lexa shouted, "Fire! All ships!" Leviathan's cannons lit up. Dread Nova unleashed its fusion torpedoes. Night Fury blinked in and out, firing precision beams into the monster's core. The sphere shook. Cracks formed, and then it spoke again. "You think weapons can harm thought? You think fire can burn the dark?" The creature exploded outward, becoming a shadow storm with thousands of red eyes. The fleet broke formation. Ships scattered. Some were crushed. Some vanished in flashes of light. Inside the chaos, Lexa's mind raced. There's got to be a core, something real. "It can't just be energy," Weller gasped. "There's something inside it. A structure, old, like a brain." Lexa locked onto it. "Reese, you're the fastest. Get inside. Plant the charges." Reese's voice crackled. "Copy that. Cover me." Vanguard 2 dove into the heart of the monster. Tendrils lashed at him. Shadows formed claws and teeth. He dodged, rolled, and blasted through. Inside the core, Everything was red. He saw it. A crystalline object, glowing like fire. Reese whispered, "That must be it." He attached the bomb, but the monster knew. It screamed, "This time," in a language no one knew. Reese shouted, "Get ready to detonate!" Outside, Lexa gave the command. "All ships retreat. Now!" Leviathan pulled back, dragging wounded ships with it. Reese flew out just in time. Lexa held the trigger. "Now." She pressed it. Boom! The Void King's core exploded in a storm of red lightning. The sphere shook, shattered, and collapsed in on itself. The eyes disappeared. The shadow was gone. Silence. In the aftermath, the fleet floated in the quiet void. Lexa breathed hard. "Did we get it?" Weller scanned the area. No sign of the entity. No energy signatures. Nothing. Reese drifted next to Leviathan. "That was the scariest thing I've ever done." Kale's voice returned faintly. "We're picking up signals again. The gate is reopening. You can come home." Lexa looked at the others. "Not yet. We searched the ruins first." She pointed at the shattered pieces of the sphere. "There may be more. Answers. Or worse. Copies." Among the floating debris, they found something. A ship. Not human. Not alien. Older than both. Inside, they recovered a piece of data. Lexa read it aloud. The Void King was just one of many. A scout. A servant. She looked at her crew and whispered the truth. This was just the beginning. The last protocol. The Void King was gone. Its prison shattered. Its mind silenced. But humanity did not cheer. Because in the silence of space they found something worse. A message, buried deep in the ruins of that ancient alien ship. It wasn't a warning. It was a countdown. Lexa stood on Leviathan's command bridge, eyes locked on the screen. The message kept repeating. Void-class entity neutralized. Signal received. Hosts awakened. Time until arrival, 12 days. Kale's voice came from Earth. "We just confirmed it. That signal didn't just alert something. It opened a door. A big one." Weller added, "From what we've found, the Void King was only a scout, a test, to see if the galaxy was ready." Reese clenched his fists. "So, what's coming now?" Lexa said nothing. Then she gave the order. "Prepare the last protocol." The last protocol wasn't a weapon. It was a summons. Back on Earth, in a sealed chamber deep under New Geneva, ancient codes were input. Forgotten machines roared to life. For the first time in 30,000 years, all remaining Gravefire warships awakened. The entire Silent Armada rose from ice, ocean, desert, and orbit. One by one, the ships gathered. Not 10, not 50, over 200 Leviathan-class warships. Each one massive. Each one armed for extinction. Kyle spoke from the command center. "This is the last card, the last fleet the First Empire left behind. We call them Starbreakers." As the countdown continued, humanity didn't wait. Lexa led the entire armada to the edge of known space, past Neptune, beyond Pluto, back to the gate. It was open again, but this time, something was coming through. The sensors screamed, a tear opened. In space, dark matter bled out, and then they arrived, not ships, not beings, monsters, shapes that broke the mind. Living shadows with metal skin, some shaped like whales made of bone and black crystal, some like floating cities of hunger. Kale whispered across comms, "We're not fighting an invasion. This is an extinction wave." Lexa looked to her crew. "To Earth. We are the shield." She raised her hand. "All ships, engage." The sky exploded with light. The battle began. Leviathan fired first, its ultra-cannon tearing through one of the massive creatures. Night Fury blinked in and out of space, cutting targets into pieces. Dreadnova released its fusion core, vaporizing half a swarm. The Starbreakers unleashed ancient tech never seen before. Planets shook, moons cracked. The space between stars glowed red. Still, the enemy came. 10, 20, 50. For every monster they destroyed, 3 more appeared. Reese flew through the chaos, dodging claws and lasers. We can't hold forever. Lexa didn't blink. We hold as long as we must. Then, hope. Weller shouted over comms. I found something, a core, a central command signal. They're linked. If we destroy it, maybe we can shut them all down. But there was a catch. The core wasn't in space. It was inside a living creature the size of a moon, hovering just beyond the gate. Lexa nodded. We go in. Full assault. Reese and Lexa led the charge. Every Starbreaker followed. They punched through the enemy swarm, past broken ships, past the bodies of old empires, straight into the heart of the monster. Inside, the core pulsed. Alive, but barely. It was a brain. A hive queen. Lexa stared. It was human. A twisted, ancient version of humanity, used, absorbed, and reshaped by the void. Weller gasped. It's one of the first empire. They never died. They were converted. Lexa felt something in her mind. A voice. We were you. You will. Be us. She raised her weapon. Not today. They planted the last bomb. Everyone escaped, and Lexa gave the order. Now. Reese pressed the trigger. The explosion wasn't just fire. It was silence. The core vanished, and with it, every monster stopped moving, one by one. They fell. The gate collapsed behind them. The sky cleared. The war was over. For now. Back on Earth. The world rejoiced. But Lexa stood quiet, looking at the stars. Kyle stood beside her. You did it. Lexa shook her head. No, we survived. That's all. He nodded. And if they return? She smiled sadly. Then we'll remind them. Why no one laughs at humanity anymore. The end. This is the conclusion of your epic 10-part HFY saga. Humanity unleashed their buried power, faced extinction, and proved their strength. Not just with weapons, but with unity, bravery, and sacrifice. Let me know if you'd like. A full series recap script for YouTube. A trailer-style summary. A follow-up series, The Next War, Children of the Starbreakers, or Rise of the Void. Lords, I'm ready when you are, Commander.